favorite scenes from room 203. I've got my tea, and I'm going to do some double entendres. We're going to have tea, and I'm also going to spill some tea. This is our third episode today on Giving Tuesday. So you know what they say about good things come in threes. So my hope is for all of you that are tuning in for the first time, that you get some really fun stories and get to meet our fine folks in the chat room. For those that have been to our 9 o'clock Pacific Standard Time or even our 3 o'clock, welcome back. We've had two amazing opportunities to figure out ways that each and every one of us, in a very small way, can give of our time, can give of our talent, and most importantly today, give of our treasure. And for those of you that know that Meet Geese, the woman who saved Anne Frank, who came to my classroom, she said that we can all, in a very small way, turn on a light in a very dark room. So today is an opportunity for all of us to do just that, to turn on a light, to pay it forward, to give of ourselves and pay it forward. So if you're just joining us, whether you're on LinkedIn, if you are on Facebook, if you are on our website or YouTube, say hello. Tell us hi, welcome back, Connie Kang, one of our earlier question askers, who also is going to walk away with a book. Hi again. So if you're just joining us, tell us where you're from. We're going to be doing shout outs to you throughout the next hour. If you're a Freedom Writer teacher, let the world know that you are a Freedom Writer teacher. If you're an original Freedom Writer, say hello to the world. And for all of our new student authors, if we have any new student authors, please say hello. This is family. Even though we're talking about room 203, today family is what we make and family is what we choose. So it's Zoom 203. This is going to be our family for today. So welcome from near and far. I'm just really excited to share stories, to speak to my brethren, to my family. Earlier today, something really exciting happened. Today is an opportunity for us to raise money, and we're a nonprofit. And as a struggling teacher who had 3 additional jobs to my teaching job, I was doing other things to help pay for field trips and books. I know the power of giving what you can. We had a field trip planned to go see the film Schindler's List, and one of my students donated a quarter, and I broke down in tears. It was just the thought, that someone gave what they could, and they gave a quarter. Well, today, that quarter would be worth 50 cents because this morning, a very dear friend of mine who runs a family foundation, the Gary Anderson Foundation, literally threw down the gauntlet, said, I want to help and inspire, and I'm going to do a matching donation up to $50,000. So everyone that donates today and in the month of December, your donation is matched up to $50,000. That's cuckoo. Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, kind of crazy. That is bananas and bonkers all rolled into one. So any of you that even give a quarter, it's going to be doubled. So if you feel inspired to give, please do so. Every single penny is going to go to our programs. And specifically in this call, books. We're going to be giving away books to people who sent questions in. We've already selected them. And for those that are in the chat and feel inspired to ask a question, we might even take a few questions in real time at the end of this call. If you did submit a question in real time, you have options. The 20th anniversary of our book, The Freedom Writer's Diary, 20 new stories on the 20th anniversary, which just ages me. And our newest book, Dear Freedom Writer, letters from students around the globe. Hopefully some of those wonderful students will join us today, and responses from original Freedom Writers and Freedom Writer teachers. And one of those student authors in Dear Freedom Writer was all of 10 years old when he submitted a story, a beautiful story about family and about love and about having 2 dads. Well, that beautiful young man, Kyan, actually donated a ton of money. He's now 11, and he donated $100. So Kyan's $100 in honor of Lexi, our dear Lexi, is actually $200. So Kyan, at all of 11, thank you for donating. Thank you for paying it forward. And most importantly, thank you for honoring Lexi. For those that are joining us, I've got my teacup with butterfly. And beside me, I've got my beautiful butterfly to also honor Lexi. So Lexi is very much with us in spirit. And stick around if you want to learn more about Lexi's legacy. But we are going to be paying it forward. I also got a donation moments ago from Dr. Reifert. We call him Tom Pock, also in the memory of Lexi. So throughout this call, we're going to be inspiring you to give of your time. Pay it forward to someone in need, to give us your talent by helping us help others. And if you got a little treasure, throw a little treasure into the kitty. We will take it. So without further ado, I have a stack of questions, and I'm going to dive into the questions that we received literally from all over the globe. So my first question is from a woman named Kimberly Rojas, and she lives in La Habra, California. I hope that you are with us right now, Kimberly Rojas. And her question is, how did you persevere through the hard times as a teacher going above and beyond? So Kimberly, the word persevere means a lot to me because I often felt like I fell forward, but I fell a lot. And when you create community and family, luckily people catch you. But initially they weren't. I walked in day one, room 203, polka dots and pearls, and it was sort of a disaster. And my syllabus came right back at me in the form of a paper airplane with the comment, why do we have to read books written by dead white guys in tights? I guess I have the last laugh because this is the book my students wrote. Those same students who threw that syllabus at me, who didn't like reading, who didn't like writing, who didn't like school, who didn't like each other, and certainly didn't like me, are authors. They're activists, and they are changing the world one word, one class, one community, and one kid at a time. So for all of you that are joining us, you could be that one. You might be one person in the world, but you might be the world to one person. And for us, Lexi is our world. So you can just be one. The Talmud teaches us that whoso saves a life saves the world entire. So that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to try to save some lives. We're going to try to have some really courageous conversations, and we're going to answer Kimberly Rojas's question in terms of a video. So throughout the hour, I'm going to show some fun videos that we've created where freedom writers are helping me answer this question, either through our feature film or our Emmy Award-winning documentary. So we chose Erica to help answer this question about perseverance and how do you go above and beyond. So because I'm spilling the tea in Tea with Miss G with my little butterfly cup, I want to go backwards. It's back to school night. I've just started my career. It's room 203, and I was used to my parents being on the PTA. I was used to my parents going to every class and every game and hosting slumber parties. My parents were very involved in my academic upbringing. So I just made an assumption that everyone's going to show up at back to school night. So I got a new dress and I made some silly signs and I baked cookies and brownies and I was ready. And no one showed up. Like literally no one showed up. And it was really demoralizing at first. Like, what did I do wrong? And I realized that I'm the one that needs to pivot because even though their parents didn't show up, they did. And they did so in words and their journals. So I had to learn about my students. I had to really see them and hear them and know that they matter. But I also had to validate their parents who may have had 2 or 3 jobs or may not have had transportation or might have been intimidated with a language barrier or this crazy teacher with those polka dots and pearls. So to answer that question about persevering, you got to be flexible. You've got to pivot on a dime. You have to teach with and not always at. So this is Erica, Freedom Writer Erica, an OG as we refer to them. talking about that moment in the film, which displayed it perfectly, where no one showed up, but in fact, everyone in their words did. So this is Erica taking you back to room 203.
My freshman year of high school, I was in the Distinguished Scholars Program. I was one of like 2 Latinas in the class. I felt overlooked a lot. The teacher didn't really engage me. The difference with Freedom Riders is I felt like I belonged, and that Aaron cared about me and us, and Freedom Riders, we cared about each other. So it made me feel safe and seen and good. My favorite scene is the back to school night. Aaron was standing at the door and waiting for parents of Freedom Riders to show up, and no one did. Across the hall was the Distinguished Scholars class, and you could see the teacher there greeting and talking with all of the parents of the Distinguished Scholars students that showed up. Tell us she was a little disappointed that parents didn't show up. And so she comes back in the classroom and looks over to the cabinets on the wall or the closet. She had given us an option of when we wrote in our journals to put it either on the right side where she was allowed to read what we wrote, our stories, or on the left if they didn't want it to be read. She opens the right side and it's just full. So all the Freedom Riders had put it on the right side for her to be able to read. I like that scene because even though the parents didn't show up, we showed up for her through our journals. And so in that moment, I feel like she knew that the way that she was there for us, we were there for her. Room 203 wasn't just you go into an English class for 50 minutes and learn how to put sentences together and do a book report. It was our safe haven. We were much bigger than just classmates. We were family. We were brothers and sisters. I felt like she was seeing me.
I love that Erica said, seeing me. And throughout this next hour, I want to see you as well. So if you can put yourself in the chat room and tell us where you're from. After each video, I want to do a shout out to a few of you. So I'm going to do a quick shout out to those of you that are active in the chat room as we speak. Welcome, Lucia Rodriguez from Los Angeles, and Maylin Liu from Belize, which I've never been, to Maggie Swanson, one of our Freedom Rider teachers from Anaconda. Joe, make me sing it, but Anaconda, Montana, we love and miss you, and we want to come back soon. To Brian Hall, who is the son and a beloved Freedom Rider family member. I taught with his fabulous father, Horace Hall, at Wilson High, and Shay Rocks, one of our beloved Freedom Rider teachers. So for those of you that are joining us, put your name in the chat room, say hello, tell us where you're from, identify if you are a student author in Dear Freedom Rider. Say you're a Freedom Rider teacher and where you hail. If you are an original Freedom Rider or you're just joining us for the first time, family's what we make, right? So be a part of that family. I also want to do a shout out for anyone that's going to donate. We have a matching grant that literally fell from the sky, after our first Giving Tuesday live Tea with Miss G. And everyone that donates with that live Tea with Miss G, it's like a double donation. So if you give $1, it's $2. If you give 5, it's 10. So you do the math. I'm an English teacher. Don't make me become a mathematician. But it is a challenge for all of you. If you can give time, great. If you can give some treasure's going to go to books. Treasure's going to go to Freedom Riders and our extended family coming together for an educational symposium to honor the legacy of Lexi this June. So every single cent matters. So for those of you that also donate, I will say hello in real time. So if you also asked a question, let us know which copy of which book you want. Anyone that asks a question today that I read, I will send you a book, personalized. So if it's for you, I'll sign it for you. Hanukkah's coming up, Kwanzaa's coming up, Christmas is coming up, so it can be a great present. So let me know if it's for you or someone you hold dear. So our next question is from Bridget Flanagan. I hope you're there, from Montgomery, Illinois. And Bridget asked, how do you get administration to support the quote unquote naughty students? And I gotta tell you, Bridget, those are my favorite to this very day. The naughtier, the better, I say. And I say that because often we label kids, we dismiss them, we discard them, and freedom riders had rap sheets. Some freedom riders had ankle monitors. Some freedom riders had score below the 30th percentile on every standardized test. So I didn't send any of them away then, and I haven't sent them away to this very day. And we're aging, as you can see, a little older. I'm a little grayer. I don't look young and fresh like Hilary Swank, who is perpetually going to be the same age in a film. But I never sent them away, and by not sending them away, it gave us time to peel back layers, to understand why they were naughty, as Bridget asked in her question. So there was a moment that I played a game, and we called it the line game. And ironically, Bridget, it was beautifully portrayed in the film. And a fun fact for those of you that don't know, most of the young people in the feature film, they weren't actors. They were real kids with real stories that we found here in Los Angeles. One gentleman was homeless. Another one was living in a car. Another young lady had just come from rehab days before we began filming. So it was an amazing opportunity to hire young people who didn't have momagers like Kris Jenner, who did not have drama classes or speech, but had an opportunity to be in the moment and tell their story beside the original Freedom Riders telling theirs. So in this moment in room 203, I stripped everything, desks and chairs, number 2 pencils, ballpoint pens, textbooks, you name it, and put painter's tape down the center of my room. And I wanted to do so because I wanted my students to have the opportunity to stand in solidarity, stand side by side, toe to toe, knee to knee, eye to eye, and see one another. As Erica said in that previous video, like actually see that the struggle is real, see why they were naughty in the first place. And after silly questions at first, songs and movies and Marvel characters, the questions got real. And so was their reality. My students had seen things that no kid should see. Riots in the streets of Long Beach, homicides, 126 in a singular year to be exact. They'd seen homelessness or even experienced it. The proliferation of drugs and the demoralizing factors of bouncing around from foster home to foster home. So with this game, that was anything but, my students kept coming. And so what I did is I invited administration in. You need to know my students. You need to know who I'm humbly serving. And once you get to know them, you're gonna know their story. Why? I'm not going to send them away. I'm not going to send them to the principal. I'm not going to have them be a part of this school to prison pipeline any longer. The buck stops here in room 203. So while we were playing this game, the questions got really intense. And if you look over my shoulder on the cover of our new book stands Ty. Ty's a soldier. And every time I see Ty, I literally salute him for giving his time and his talent for democracy. He's flatlined twice while he served abroad in Afghanistan and Iraq. But when he was just a boy in my class, standing on that line, he got to shed some secrets. He no longer had to have shame because he stood toe to toe, knee to knee, next to other soldiers, soldiers who were 14, living in an undeclared war. So what I love about this video that you're about to see is Ty's tender side. He gets a little emotional. He fights back those tears. And in fighting back those tears, you see a side of him, a young boy who was punished with switches and used to wear big baggy clothes to cover those purple bruises, those licks, those cuts, those scars. And then he was seen, and he no longer had to hide. And so I love that One of my favorite moments in room 203 was one of Ty's favorite moments in room 203. So the struggle is real, but when those in power and authority can see the struggle, they can also help in the healing process. So let's check out Ty talking about my favorite moment and one of his favorite moments as well, the line game.
I am not a product of my upbringing. Because we went through things doesn't mean we have to still stay in those situations. My mother was a single parent. At a young age, I thought that the parents needed to be together, so I would always look to hers for the blame, like, well, why isn't my father around? I just wanted to see that side of life. And she gave in, and I ended up living with my father for about a 2-year period. I experienced hell on earth, so to speak. He was abusive to the women, and once that stopped, it moved over to me. And I was told to keep it a secret. I was stuck in that environment with no way out, becoming very suicidal at times. And then I met Miss G. And she's always been a second mother to me. And I love her dearly for everything that she's done for us.
We're gonna play a game, all right? I'm gonna ask you a question. If that question applies to you, you step onto the line.
My favorite scene in the movie would be the line game. It took me back to us actually being in that room, and the emotion was real. It reminded me that no matter where you came from, no matter your race, your color, your creed, that we're all connected. We all experience the same things. Seeing everybody else stepping into that unknown is reassuring that, you know, this is real. I'm not the only one. What stepping forward meant to me is coming out of the shadows, admitting to myself and to the world that I did experience these things, and to get past that fear. We've all been through these things, and we've still made it through, and we're still standing strong.
Thank you all very much.
Wow, you guys are busy in the chat room. You're busy watching, so I want to do some shout outs to some of our family members near and wide who joined us. A special shout out to Dustin Hanvey at PCC, Pasadena City College, the home of one of the greatest baseball players ever, Jackie Robinson. We're going to be there tomorrow night to see all of his amazing community college students. So welcome, Dustin, from Pasadena City College. Jasmine, we have two Jasmines. One is a student author and one is a Freedom Writer teacher. So welcome, Jasmine, our student author extraordinaire from Glendale, and the other Jasmine from Nebraska. Welcome, both of you. Brennis, King Brennis, where is your shiny crown? King Brennis is one of our student authors in Dear Freedom Writer who hails from Florida. And this is like a magical group of women. We've done a 9 a.m. We've done a 3 p.m. And these 4 women are like in beast mode. They're going ham. They've been joining us every single call. And I want to do a special shout out to Tammy Purrington and her students in Secoit, New York. They watched this morning. Kids were asking questions. They came back at 3. And Tammy is back yet again, and she donated. So Tammy, thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to do a special shout out to Deborah Fernandez and Roma. They were there at 9, watching with their entire class in Adelanto. They were back at 3. Questions were asked by their student, Marcos, who's going to get a book, and they are back yet again. And last but not least, Megan. Oh my God, Megan had me I literally could not read your text, Megan. Megan sent me a text in between from Long Island, New York, about her students that were watching. And it literally leveled me. I was literally weeping, and I had to hand the phone over to Rob and say, I can't read this. I'm too emotional. This is too beautiful. So for those 4 women, you are superheroes. You are women warriors. You are badass bitches. Thank you. And I say that lovingly. Thank you for coming again and again. Thank you for having your kids join us with your classes. I thank you for being a part of this. This is the 3rd one, so I might have some colorful language, and that's okay, because it's been a long day as we've been receiving love and donations and incredible gifts from folks near and wide. So thank you, thank you, thank you. A donation in my hot hands, and it is so hot that it is going to burn my fingers. The Rodriguez family, specifically Lexi's sister Brianna, oh my God, she just donated. For those of you that are aware, we had a Lexi scholarship. Every single cent from our Lexi scholarship is going to go for our student authors to come back and be a part of the Freedom Rider family this June. Butterflies will float, trees will be planted, there will be a dance floor, and we're going to have courageous conversations about mental health parity for all of us to learn, to advocate, to be allies. So Brianna, thank you for donating. Because of the grant that we are getting from the Gary Anderson Foundation, your donation is doubled. Poof, it's like magic. So thank you to you and your family for being here. I've got Lexi next to me, beside me. Here she is. And my tea with Miss G, butterflies galore. So if you've asked questions, we've had 2. I've got many, many more. You're going to get a book. So decide which book you want. Both Kimberly and Bridget have asked questions. So declare if you are in any of our spaces, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, our website, you name it, what kind of book you want, and more specifically, who you want it personalized to, and off it will be sent. Which leads me to the next question. This is Todd Feltman, and he is joining us all the way from the Bronx in New York. We've had a lot of New Yorkers today in different spots of New York. But Tom Feltman asked, how did you effectively engage boys in the reading and writing process? It's a great question, Todd. I wanted to bring culturally sensitive literature into my class. I wanted the faces of the authors to be a mirror to the students in my classroom. I wanted to find things that were gritty and sometimes push the envelope. And so I had to go out and find the perfect story for the perfect storyteller. And my hope was, if they're a teen, then maybe it will inspire my students to be that storyteller as well, that they were just as poetic as Shakespeare, like Tupac and a rose in concrete could be just as profound as Gertrude Stein's a rose is a rose is a rose. So how do we look at hip hop artists, rappers, folks who lived to tell after a genocide, people who rode into Auschwitz in a cattle car and received a Nobel Peace Prize like Elie Wiesel? Those are the stories I chose. And after we stood on that line, after that tender moment where there was tears and there was this commitment to heal, I decided to have a toast for change. And what that toast for change meant to me and ultimately to my students is you're more than just a number, a statistic or data. You're a storyteller and you can change. And doing something bad doesn't mean you're a bad person. So my hope was, after we played the line game and it led to our toast for change, that my students would put down a fist, put down a gun, pick up a pen and write. And that's exactly what happened with Narada. So our next storyteller is the storyteller that is now bound in every edition of the Freedom Rider's Diary. We've got 3. The book first came out in 1999. Our 10th anniversary, we added 10 more stories, and our 20th anniversary edition in 2019. And in every version, Diary 24 was written by Narada. And it was written about an eviction notice. It was written about being homeless and all of that angst and anguish that comes with, how do I go to class? How do I even get off this bus when my stomach is in knots and I feel like I'm going to throw up? Are people going to laugh? Are people going to bully me? So with a marble journal, he picked up a pen from my desk and a journal, and he wrote, and he wrote, and he wrote. And then he shared. And in that aha moment, we saw him. We leaned in, we led with love, and he's become quite the storyteller. So in this particular scene, we're going to look at that toast for change, and every word that is read by that young student He's not an actor. The young person doesn't even look like Narada or talk like Narada. Narada is a gentleman who hailed from Pittsburgh and then came to California and is African American, which you will see. The young player who played him is from Southern California, a 15-year-old boy who was homeless himself when he was cast to be in this movie. The story's anonymous, and the story's anonymous for a reason, because it's the universality of the human spirit. So let's think about the universality of all of us who are joined in this call today. So let's check out Narada, talking about that toast, talking about the power of words, and talking about the legacy of words and not weapons. Here's Narada.
I would come to school every day and nobody would know. At the time, I was homeless. I'm thinking I'm the only one going through anything. So my goal was not to focus on grades, not to do any of that. My goal was to make sure that I kept this secret hidden and wasn't going to tell anything. My most important moment in the movie is the young gentleman that comes forward and he reads a story, talks about him being homeless. That was actually my story. Those were my actual words coming through on the screen.
Her tears hit my shirt like bullets. And told me we were being evicted. I thought I have no home. Why bother coming to school or getting good grades if I'm homeless? Instead, I'm greeted by a couple of friends who were in my English class last year. And it hits me, Mrs. Gurwal, my crazy English teacher from last year, is the only person that made me think of hope. I am home.
What a godsend to have this group of people around me to be there for me, and I knew I had to be strong because I had to be there for them also. That was something I didn't plan on telling a soul, but this is it. This story, this movie, and how it's touched people all over the world. It'll be here forever, long after we're gone.
So beautiful. I want to do a special shout out to Lucia, who just donated. And for those of you that are just joining on Giving Tuesday, we had an incredible opportunity. One of our very loyal supporters is challenging you. It's a challenge grant. They're going to donate up to $50,000. This is a pinch me moment. This is going to help us with books and visits to schools and our symposium. So every dollar that you donate today, the matching grant is doubling your donation. So Lucia, thank you for your donation. I also want to do a shout out to Lisa Enriquez. She just raised $130 for the foundation for her birthday. So thank you for that. That actually, I'm an English teacher, not a mathematician, but that really now is $260 because of our matching grant, our challenge grant. I want to do some shout outs to some folks who joined. If you're just joining us, shout away in the chat room. Tell us where you're from. Announce if you are a family member, i.e. a brand new donor. If you are a Freedom Writer, an OG, if you're a Freedom Writer teacher, if you're a student author, if you're just a loyal supporter. So we have some folks who joined us. I want to say a shout out to Michelle Carroll. She's one of our Freedom Writer teachers. I think she's prettier than Farrah Fawcett in her heyday. Like when I see Michelle Carroll, I always say that she is Charlie's Angels Farrah Fawcett. So Michelle Carroll from Sacramento, thank you for joining us. A sweet shout out to our UC Irvine intern, Maddie. Thank you for joining us, sweetheart. I am a UCI alum, so I love that we have incredible interns every single quarter from my alma mater. I also want to do a shout out to the man, the myth, the legend, who is poking me with the comment, how could I miss tea with Miss G? I got my tea, we're gonna spill some, and that is to the chairman of our board, Bob Romney himself. We're gonna salute him. It's a good day for the foundation. Go USA. I know that USA kicked some butt in the World Cup, and we're trying to kick some butt in this very space today as well. So we can have a win-win moment. So if you donate, it's a win-win. If you have a question, you get a book, it's a win-win. So thank you for joining us. And like I said earlier, in between every video, I'm gonna gather names. I'm gonna say hello and do shout outs to you for donations or for simple things you put in our chat room. which leads me to our next question. And our next question is from Laura Ramiro Loya, and she hails from Denver, Colorado. And Laura Ramiro Loya asked, what are some ways to help educators learn how to improve their teaching? So this isn't really a favorite scene from 203, but what this actually is, Laura, is once Freedom Riders graduated and once we realized we're not ready to say goodbye for the better part of forever, how do we take those moments with a Toast for Change or the line game, and how do we replicate it? So many Freedom Rider teachers are joining us right now, which I've done special shout outs. So we gathered them. We didn't know what we were doing then. I think we know what we're doing now, but we tried to recreate the magic, the secret sauce in room 203. So nearly 800 educators from all 50 states, 7 provinces in Canada, and about 24 countries have come to Long Beach, and they have learned. They have learned to be Freedom Rider teachers. I stand corrected, 20 of which we went to them. The US State Department sent us to the Middle East, and we worked on their soil with Israelis and Palestinian teachers, and have made that invitation to come to Long Beach and be our family. So what I wanted to do is, for any of you educators who are not a Freedom Rider teacher yet, this is a little bit of what we do, the magic. Freedom Riders show up, I show up, we have pixie dust, and I'm your teacher. For 5 days, we hermetically seal you in a bubble, and we recreate those moments. We stand on that same line, toe to toe, knee to knee. We raise a glass. It's not plastic, but we raise a champagne glass, and we too make a toast and a testament to the kind of teachers we want to be. We laugh, we cry, and we leave feeling empowered. It's a mission and it's a mandate. So I'd like to share with you, this is what it looks like. If you're interested, there's a lot of Freedom Rider teachers in this space. So love on the teachers who are not Freedom Rider teachers yet, but we're gonna have 3 institutes this year. So if you're interested in becoming a Freedom Rider teacher, welcome to the family. This is a look at our teacher training.
The Freedom Rider story has been published as a book, filmed by a Hollywood studio, and captured in a gritty, heartrending documentary. In whatever form it's taken, the story has inspired and touched people all over the world, and the story continues today.
When our story got out, a lot of teachers wanted to know how to replicate the progress that we made in room 203, and the Institute was the best way to do it.
Erin takes what she did in room 203 and duplicates that in this institute in 5 days. It's phenomenal.
A kid deserves the best out of their teachers. If their teachers can come to us and now have that network to continue to be the best, the kid wins, and that's what it's all about.
Sometimes as a teacher, we get stuck in a rut and it's hard, and I'm trying to be this advocate for my students, but just me. So I'm hoping to help these kids get to where they need to be.
This would not be possible without our amazing donors. To all of our donors, thank you.
So if you're in the chat room, whether you're on LinkedIn or Facebook or on our website or YouTube, reach out. We love gathering teachers far and wide. And throughout the day, we've done 3 of these lives so that we could talk to our teachers in the Middle East. Jill and Amnon joined us this morning from Israel. We could talk to our teachers on either coast and provinces in Canada. We've got teachers everywhere. So if you're interested, reach out. If you're interested in helping them, reach out. We're just so excited. So speaking of teachers, I've got a question and a shout out. And this question is to one of our Freedom Rider teachers, Manuel. Manuel's part of our Freedom Rider family. And just recently, I had the honor and the privilege to go to Fresno and spend a few days, not only with Manuel and his son, who's a student author, Kyan, who donated today, and his husband, Dr. Dale White, but his students. Many of the students that Manual serves, as most of the Freedom Rider teachers, are kids often in peril, kids who are in alternative programs and have been sent away from a class or a system. And so Manny is kind of this resting point from kids who were in juvenile hall. And before they make their way back into a traditional public school, they are part of Manual's public school program. Many of them are probation, they're wardens. And so to have the opportunity and spend time with Manual students, and then the following day to be at a juvenile hall was exquisite. Went a little rogue. I have learned to ask for forgiveness, not permission. And in this juvenile hall, we recreated the line game. It was a rut row moment because I made the ones a little nervous because there was holsters and guns, and some kids, unfortunately, were in there for murder. But I felt these kids needed that moment to be seen by a warden, to be seen by a superintendent, to stand on a line in the same way that my students did. And there was tears and there was hugs. And at the end of that moment, the superintendent for the juvenile penal system said, I want a book for every single one of these kids. So I met every single young man and young woman in this juvenile hall in Fresno, the Worsley School. And they all got a copy of Dear Freedom Rider. So I love that this next question is from Manual, because he's in the trenches and he's a Freedom Rider teacher. And so what Manual asked was, our system feels so broken with, quote, armchair teachers telling us what and how to teach. How do we advise our colleagues to hang in there and weather the storm? So I love this question because I think for a lot of us educators, we are the emotional piñatas for a pundit or a politician who don't send their kids to our public schools, who don't know how hard it is to be a teacher who is overworked and underpaid. So in the Freedom Rider world, we celebrate our brethren. We try to make them feel like the rock stars that we know they are. We lead with love, and we surround them with fellow mavericks to understand that they're not alone. And so if you are an educator in this space right now, we have a couple more books that we want to give away. So ask a question. Send us a question in real time in our space. If you are a student like Manual, send us a question. So the video that I chose for you, Manual, is from the perspective of a student. Because I think when our students succeed, we succeed. And when I think about your question of these armchair pundits and teachers who feel demoralized, we have to remember who we serve, humbly so. So I want to tell you about the last story in the Freedom Rider's Diary. Yes, I'm going to give away the ending. If you've seen the film, you know the ending, but in the 20th anniversary, the last student voice is Norma. And Norma did everything right in room 203. She raised her hand, she turned in everything, she got gold stars, she got A's, and when it came time for those college tours, she was the first one to sign up. When it came time to apply to college, she was the first one in the room. And then there was this realization, I don't have this 9-digit number, this social security number. And she went home and talked to her parents and really found out what it means to sacrifice, to come to a country as parents, to allow your students, to allow your family, to allow your kids to have the American dream. Norma was undocumented, and she had no idea that she'd come here at birth in the pursuit of that American dream. So in the moment of college tours and college applications, there was this realization that I can't go. I can't go off to college with the Freedom Riders. I can't afford it. And then this realization, she was devastated. Why did I try so hard for those gold stars and those accolades and those awards if I can't go to college like everyone else? But she still graduated with honors. And Manny, I think that Norma is the perfect person to talk about perseverance, because in our 20th anniversary, Norma writes about today, the Norma of the now, not just the Norma of the then. The Norma of the now is in medical school. The Norma of the now teaches all of us about the marathon and not the sprint. The Norma of the now persevered, became a citizen, went to college, got married, and in between those lessons and soccer games was able to graduate with honors. And she's going to have her white coat. She's going to have a stethoscope. And as a young girl, she had to translate everything to her parents, even when they went to the doctors. So now, my sweet Norma, when she becomes a doctor, wants to humbly serve the most vulnerable, to give a voice to the voiceless, to help other dreamers, to other people who may be undocumented, who just want to live the American dream. So it's those stories, it's those anecdotes, I think that those armchair pundits need to hear. We need to know stories, we need to know anecdotes, we need to know who come to school every single day to serve and to sacrifice. So I want Norma to tell you all about perseverance, about being in that room, being in room 203, and what it means for her to pursue a medical degree, to be a doctor in a few short years. This is Norma.
Perseverance to me is not giving up. And it's just, continuing to push forward even when things get difficult, just continuing to push through despite whatever hardships or hurdles you're having to overcome. I think you should always strive to achieve whatever is possible in whatever moment of your life you're in. There's that scene with Ava where you see her, getting home late at night, where she picks up her book and starts reading The Diary of Anne Frank. And that was a powerful scene for me, because you see how the students at school didn't know what Ava was going through. And you see her, despite all those struggles, still getting home and picking up that book. I think in a sense, all of us freedom riders, we were kind of on the same boat in terms of having all this hardship and hurdles that we had to overcome in order to continue, even just to finish high school. When we came to meet Ms. G, not only did she see the potential that we had as individuals, but I think she helped us see that potential within us. When someone believes in you, it makes you believe in yourself. And so I think that happened to Maria and to a lot of us as well. And so the fact that she believed in us was a very big tool in us persevering even to get just through high school. I had always looked forward to getting a higher education, a college degree, but I wasn't going to be able to go to college because I was undocumented at the time. I thought, well, what's the point in putting any work towards this when I have nowhere else to go after graduation? But it was that belief that she had, in us that helped me push through to get through high school, even if I didn't know where I was going to go after that. Along the way, I came to realize that it wasn't just for me. I finished my 4-year degree. I have a degree in science, and it's been a journey that's been beneficial not only to myself, but my children as well. Not only because I was able to set an example in a way, but even what I've learned in school, I've been able to use to help them in theirs. Get as far as you can. Don't let your mind tell you no. You've got to push through no matter how far it is that you're able to go.
Oh, how much do I love Norma? I got to officiate Norma's daughter's wedding. Say that 3 times fast. And not only is Norma planning to be a doctor, to humbly serve, but Norma's daughter, who I officiated her wedding, is studying to be a veterinarian. So it's going to be a double doctor home. And her son just got engaged, so I get to officiate another wedding this January. So it's amazing that these young folks, freedom riders in room 203,
to me, forgiveness
are still a part of our lives,
is about giving.
Still part of this crazy family. We like to say that we put fun in dysfunctional family, but it sure is fun. So if you're just joining us, this is live Tea with Miss G. We're asking questions. We're giving out books.
The Freedom
If I
Writer
have read your
story.
name, if I've read your question, let us know in the chat room if you want a copy of the Freedom Writer's Diary, the 20th anniversary edition. Norma's story is number 20, the last story in the book. Yes, I gave away the ending. She's also part of my introduction in the new book, Dear Freedom Writer. I wrote about officiating her wedding this summer for her daughter. So if you are donating, we have a matching challenge grant from the fine folks at the Gary Anderson Foundation. My dear friend Erin Anderson is challenging anyone who donates today. They're going to do a matching donation. So if you donate $5, it's 10. If you donate 100, it's 200. I've claimed that I'm not a mathematician, so I'm going to stop there. But give of your time, give of your talent. But it's Giving Tuesday. Give of your treasure as well. So any donations today are going to help us give more books. It's going to help us with our educational institutes and to bring all of these amazing student authors to Long Beach this summer. I have a new question in real time. We just received this from a viewer in our Tea with Miss G. Amanda Mache from New Hope, Pennsylvania said, what are your presentations like at a juvenile hall? So my fabulous team is going to cut this scene like in real time. They are still cutting this scene for your question, Amanda, from our award-winning documentary. And every year since 1999, we have been going to a juvenile hall at Christmas, Christmas Day or Christmas Eve. And I dress in red, my little Prius becomes my sleigh, and we deliver books, and we do a workshop. And I hope that in that moment, we also pay it forward about promise and potential. And our hope is that if we come back the next year, those beautiful young folks aren't going to be there, because often we know about the recidivism in our country. So we want kids to make it out. And just as Anne Frank said, she wanted to use her wings to fly. We want young people who are incarcerated to do just that. So many of our Freedom Writer teachers actually work with incarcerated youth. And so the video that I'd love to show you is a moment that we visited a juvenile hall. And it was riveting and it was emotional. And a lot of the students knew those stories of my students, stories about being in foster care, stories about their pain of parents abandoning them, seeing things that no kid should see and experiencing things that no kid should experience. Every time that we can leave a book behind in a juvenile hall, it's a pretty magical moment. And so I'd love to showcase what it's like for us to be a teacher for these beautiful kids. We don't know why they're there. Doing something bad doesn't label them a bad kid in our eyes. In fact, we embrace and we have a hug. And for a lot of these kids, they've actually never even had a hug. So let's check out what it's like for us at the holidays each and every year to pay our good fortune forward for kids who are incarcerated.
Bring back memories.
We visit prisons and juvenile halls. And the idea that every single young person hopefully can see their story in the Freedom Writer story.
Pretty much, not that long ago, I started out where you guys are right now. And it's crazy because when I see you guys, I flash back to how it was when I was locked up.
I remember the first time I saw cocaine. I walked into my mom's room, and there's a little piece of glass with some cut up straws. They're like this big. I thought this was baby powder, and so I blew this cocaine off my mom's dresser, and when my stepdad got home, he took me to the garage and he beat me with a fishing pole. I was taken into Child Protective Services and I was in the system. And even though all of that happened, I still love my mom. She's my mom. What can you do, right? Since then, I've been in 42 different group homes. And even in foster care, you get beat up too. So, I mean, it's like one bad situation after another. And it's been a struggle.
Because of the neighborhood I grew up in, I had to pretty much have that persona of somebody that didn't take no mess. That was like my coat of arms to be able to walk through my neighborhood every day. And that just wasn't me. I wasn't that person.
Ooh, that gets me emotional. I just had dinner in San Diego with that beautiful young man, freedom rider Calvin Vanderhoff, who had been to 42 foster homes by the time he was 14, by the time he was in 9th grade, by the time he was standing on a line in my classroom. He is now a registered nurse working for Kaiser, and he serves every moment of every day and made it through COVID. And he deliberately works every weekend so that when kids who have been abused, kids who are in foster care, come in with cuts and bruises and scars, he speaks their language and he patches them up and he makes them whole. So I love that we seek out places, sometimes the darkest of places, to see the light, to feel the love, and to lead with love. So I want to do a few more shout outs for some folks who joined us. Another donation from our sweet teacher, Shannon Terrier in New York. Your donation, Shannon, is going to be doubled because we have a grant today, a challenge grant. So anyone that donates today, it's a double or nothing. So thanks to the Gary Anderson Foundation, my dear friend Aaron Anderson, anyone that donates, it is a double or nothing. So even if it's $1, it's doubled. So thank you so much, Shannon. Speaking of shout outs, I want to say thank you to Rochelle Wright, who in the last few years served elementary. She served middle school and high school. She's one of our Freedom Rider teachers extraordinaire. And so thank you for being in the chat room and saying hello to everyone. I know you were here earlier. I'm welcoming you back. But the last two folks I want to do a shout out before our final video are two young men that their teacher is so incredibly proud of. I want to do a shout out to Gordon and to Nicholas. They are both from Long Island. They are both students who went to school, the same site our dear Lexi went. And they are blowing it up in our chat room. And I just want to say thank you. It's almost 10 o'clock in New York and you're here and you're present. And Nicholas actually asked a question. So Nicholas, you get a book. You tell us what you want. If you want a Freedom Rider's Diary, if you want a Dear Freedom Rider, and if you want it personalized to you or to pay it forward to someone in your family, we'll do just that. But this is a question from Nicholas, and my talented team scrambled to find the perfect video to answer your question. Nicholas wants to know, was it a struggle to see how your students were struggling at home? And yes, not everyone has the lottery of birth, Nicholas. Not everyone goes home to a 2-parent nuclear home. Not everyone has a home cooked meal and a hug. And as you know that, a lot of young people, especially after the pandemic, struggle with depression, crippling anxiety, and suicide ideation. So their struggles become our struggles as educators and activists and thought leaders. So it was really important for me to invite parents in. My students called me Miss G, and so I invited my father in, and they called my dad Papa G. And my allowing my father to be there to teach young men how to tie a tie or how to talk to a lady and encourage moms. We call them the dream team moms. And so a lot of healing started happening. A lot of courageous conversations happened at dinner tables. And we learned to forgive. You don't have to forget, but sometimes you learn to forgive. So I want to talk about the power of forgiveness on both sides. And so the perfect video was about that struggle of a divided home and a divided heart. So Freedom Rider Will talks about the power of forgiveness. And sometimes that's the power to move forward. So let's learn from Will about how powerful it is to forgive.
To me, forgiveness is about giving a person a clean slate, just a fresh start, starting all over.
And the person you were before this moment, that person's turn is over. Now it's your turn.
One of the standout scenes to me in the Freedom Riders movie is where Marcus decides to humble himself and ask for his mother's forgiveness as he walks up and approaches his mom's house.
What the hell you doing here?
It's more of a body language. The eye contact that they gave each other. That's all it takes.
I'm sorry. You never change. Can't do it alone. I need you, Mom.
And she hands him the groceries. I think it's that approval. They get me a little emotional. Because it hits home, you know. Growing up, I was waiting to be accepted by my dad. You know how you yearning for something, but you never get it, or you never get it the way you really want it? I was hurt. But when I was 28, I received a phone call. Hey, your dad has terminal liver cancer, and they say he might not make it through the night. So I get over there, I kneel down, and he just said, I just want to let you know that I'm sorry. I apologize for not being there in your life. And we broke down and cried together. That's what I've been waiting for years, you know, and it finally happened. This is the time that I need to step up as a young man, say, hey, you know, I forgive you. That's what the character Marcus did, being humble and saying clean slate. Where do we go from here? It's weight lifted off your shoulders, and that's a part of growth. So for anyone who watches this scene, I know a lot of times people don't get that opportunity. Don't miss out on that chance, because you might not get that again.
Oh my goodness. I'm going to tell you, almost every single one of these clips that my talented colleagues have put together make me want to weep. And I hope you're feeling it. I hope you're feeling the love and the forgiveness and the opportunity to give. So I want to do a shout out to two fabulous folks, to Maggie and to Tammy, who just donated. Your donation is going to be doubled, and I thank you for that. For all of you that have donated today, thank you. We've got a challenge grant, and we're going to get every single penny of this challenge grant to pay it forward. For all of you amazing students who stayed up late, especially those on the East Coast, thank you. There's so many platforms where you're running simultaneously, whether it's LinkedIn, our website, YouTube, or Facebook. You know, we thank you for joining us. And what I want to do is I want to end with a tribute. As many of you know, we like to have legacies in the honor of a muse, Anne Frank, who was the second most read book, second only to the Bible. Who would have thought that a group of 150 kids would become the #1 book in America, and it would lead to the 20th anniversary edition. So this is one of the books that we were paying forward today to anyone who asked a question. And this book would lead to Dear Freedom Writer, a book of the now. A book of the now where young people across the globe wrote letters in really harrowing and hard times in the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of a lockdown, in the middle of losing their sense and their sensibilities. So I want to do a special shout out at the end of our live Tea with Miss G to a beloved student author. Her name is Lexi, and she's the proud author of story number 39. Her family has joined us throughout the day. I hope you are still on, and if you are, do a shout out to everyone that is watching here and abroad. And Lexi has the biggest smile My teacup today has a butterfly in honor of Lexi. I've got a butterfly beside me, and this butterfly was given to me by Lexi the day before our book launch. The day before this new book, Dear Freedom Writer, was literally number one. Oh, we are on. Hello to everyone. Nancy, this is to you. This is to everyone in the Rodriguez family and our Freedom Writers. As you know, Lexi struggled with her mental health and was an advocate for conversations and an advocate for being bold and being brave. And so she wrote like her hair was on fire. And when we submitted the rough draft, our editor actually said that Lexi's story was so perfect that it was kind of like the gold standard. And a lot of students had to elevate and do draft after draft. And I know that with grit and gumption, Lexi did just that because she wanted to get it just right. And it is just right. And she was one of the first panelists that we selected with that smile ear to ear, sitting beside her proud teacher, Megan Abruzzo, sitting beside the original Freedom Writer who responded to her, Sue Ellen Alpazar, and sitting beside her mother, Nancy Rodriguez. And Lexi handed me this gift. It is of a butterfly, and this is in honor of someone that Lexi met the first time that she visited a hospital. And while she was there, the person who inspired this butterfly sadly took her life. So Lexi wanted me to have this butterfly on my person. And it has been on my person every single moment since March of 2022. In my pocket, in my purse, in the zeitgeist. It is always with me, always. And sadly, this summer, Lexi took her life. And I have told her family, I have told our Freedom Writer family that for me, Lexi is and is. Present tense. She's very present. She's very much with us. And although we are bruised and battered and gutted, we're going to do everything in our power to break down doors, to shatter stereotypes, to have courageous conversations. If we need to go to presidents and pundits to have those conversations, we're going to have those conversations because kids are hurting. Kids need to be whole. And Lexi is a reminder of just that. So the money that we raise today is in her honor to pay it forward for more books, for those amazing student authors, many of which are in this call, many of which are in this chat room, many of which who have joined us today need to gather to be with their family, the family that they have made and the family that they have chosen. It is hard to have that conversation, but we're going to have that conversation. We're going to let some butterflies flit and float by releasing them in real time in June. We're going to plant the strongest of trees right here in Long Beach in Lexi's honor. We're going to cry and we're going to laugh and we're going to dance and we're going to celebrate and we're going to soldier on because this is our mission. Our mission is to teach one, to teach another, to save a life, to save the world entire. So Nancy just wrote, damn it, I wasn't going to cry today. But in honor of the Rodriguez family who so boldly made a decision that they are coming, they're going to honor their girl, and every single Freedom Writer student author that wants to join us, we're going to raise money for you. And these student authors hail from places like Rwanda and India and New Zealand and London and Canada and all throughout the United States. So we've got our work to do. There's 50 of them, 50 kids from around the globe that need to know that they're going to soldier on by standing up, speaking up, and speaking out. So damn it, as Gordon says, we're all crying, but these are tears of warriors. We are badasses, and with this call to action, I'm going to ask every single one of you to do your part, to do your part with your time, to do your part with your talent, to put your money where your mouth is and your treasure, and pay it forward. We survived Black Friday where everybody was shopping. We survived Cyber Monday where everybody was shopping. Today's about philanthropy. Today's about giving. Today's about soldiering on for the most vulnerable, to give a voice to the voiceless. So thank you for joining. I'm sorry I went a little over, but I had to do a shout out to my girl, to my heart, to the butterflies amongst us. And when you see a butterfly, like I pulled this out and realized, oh my God, my teacup has a butterfly on it. When we see butterflies, may we think of a legacy, may we think of Lexi, and may we think about the road less traveled. Thank you for making a change. Thank you for making a difference. And thank you for being a part of our Zoom 203 today. Our favorite scenes from room 203. But room 203 is really where your heart is. And all of you are part of our heart. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And we'll see you soon. We don't say goodbye in Freedom Rider World. We say ... See you later. So we'll see you later. We love you, the Rodriguez family. We love you all.